There are other quizzes of 2024, there are better quizzes of 2024, but can you answer 200 unfair questions about 2024? Questions in each month's section are based on events from that month. You aren't ready. Good luck! January. Question 1. What movie received the most Golden Globe nominations? AKA noms. Nom nom nom. Barbie with 9. It's a very good movie, in fairness. Question 2. Which inhabitant of the 100-acre woods became public domain in the US? Other countries' public domains are hard to track. Tigger. Winnie the Pooh entered public domain in 2022. Question 3. Estonia became the what numbered country to allow same-sex couples to marry? We're looking for first, second, third, so on. Which number is Estonia? 36th. Good work, Estonia. Question 4. Whomst became the first Indigenous American to win a Best Actress Oscar? That would be Lily Gladstone. Well done, Lily. Question 5. Lily also won what other major acting award? Oh, there's so many to pick from, isn't there? Golden Globe. Ooh, the aforementioned Golden Globes. Good work, Lily. Question 6. Which highway in Sweden became so snowed over that the army had to deliver supplies to people who had to sleep in their vehicles? E22 highway in Sweden. I told you this was going to be unfair. Did I lie to you? Question 7. What prestige television show wins Best TV Show Drama at the Golden Globes? I've actually seen this one. It's Succession! What a success for Succession. Question 8. What group of people blocked highway access roads in Germany as protest against the revocation of diesel subsidies? So we're looking for a profession here. Farmers! Yeah, they probably use a lot of diesel. That makes sense. Question 9. What country banned the sale of nicotine products for people under the age of 20? Had to happen sooner or later. Latvia. I love your gambit, Latvia. Question 10. Which two nations appear at The Hague? Now, we don't need to get into why, although fairly good reason for it, but which two countries were it? South Africa and Israel. Question 11. More than 100,000 people took part in what kind of action in Northern Ireland? The largest in 50 years. A strike! When Labour organises, or you're really good at bowling. Question 12. How much money was E. Jean Carroll awarded in the defamation judgment against Donald Trump? Nice round figure if I recall correctly. 83.3 million. Well, that's not round at all. Probably not enough either. Question 13. What sort of soup was thrown at the Mona Lisa? Do you not remember this happening back in January of 2024? Well, you ought to remember. It was pumpkin soup. Not tasty, not delicious at all. Question 14. The world's second most prestigious tennis tournament happens in what city and on what surface? Remember, this is January. Melbourne, Australia, on hard court, the Australian Open. Question 15. The United Arab Emirates organised what between Russia and Ukraine? Only so many things it could be, and yet... a prisoner exchange. Question 16. The New South Wales Police Force announced they have shut down a criminal syndicate trying to export what to Hong Kong? Reptiles, including 257 lizards. Question 17. Prelude to Ecstasy is the debut album of what young Wunderkinds? The Last Dinner Party. Good on them for getting a recording contract so young. Question 18. One of the greatest punk bands in history releases what album? Just here to something the world. Save the world? Saviors! That's right, Green Day. And if you don't think Green Day are punk, you're the problem. Question 19. In chess, whomst defeats Gukesh D to win the 2024 Tata Steel Masters? No, it wasn't Magnus, it was Wei Ye. so good on ya. Question 20. What band announces their reunion at Coachella in the coming April? So April 2024. Hold on to your 90s, it's No Doubt back again. So that was January, so shake it out, shake it off, shake it loose, and let's get ready for February. Question 1. What award was Taylor Swift receiving when she announced her new album? Need the award and the category. Well, that would be Grammy for Album of the Year for Midnights. Question 2. How old is the kilometre-long stone wall discovered in the Bay of Mecklenburg? Over 10,000 years. That's pretty old. Question 3. Tied to the cost of living crisis, the UK enters a technical what? Okay, this one's a little on the easier side, but it's the word government's fear. Recession. Uh-oh. Question 4. Which prominent Russian opposition leader dies in prison? Rip to a real one. This is one of the few bummers in this quiz. Alexei Navalny. Rip. Question 5. How many new moons are discovered? Trying some mood whiplash back here. 3. 1 for Uranus, hold for laughter. 2 for Neptune, hold for applause. Question 6. Legendary actor Carl Weathers passed away, but what was his main career before acting? Big bloke of a guy. What did he get up to? Gridiron, which is American and Canadian football. Football is such a universal word that I'm going to try and use the other word for each one. Question 7. What did France's electrical utility shut down 2 of after a fire? They didn't start the fire, but they did shut down 2 nuclear reactors. What was their reaction like? Question 8. The President of Finland is re-elected with what percentage of the votes? Tick, tock, tick, tock, tick, tock, tick, tock. 51.6% plus minus 1% and will give you the point. Question 9. Gridiron, American and Canadian football, had its superb owl. Who did the Kansas City Chiefs defeat? San Francisco 49ers, because if you use the whole word, I think they get litigious. Question 10. The BAFTAs happen, but what does BAFTA stand for? It's like an initialism. The British Academy of Film and Television Arts. Fancy. Question 11. What kind of object is QSO J0529-4351 discovered to be one of the most luminous objects ever? A quasar. Obviously. Question 12. Germany legalized what? There's so many options for things Germany could legalize, and yet they legalized recreational use of marijuana. Yes, your first guess was probably correct. Good for you. Question 13. The NHL announced what in regard to ice hockey at the 2026 Olympics? We were all waiting on. The NHL players are allowed to compete. That was a surprise to me. Question 14. What Matthew Vaughn movie about books and spies is released? Argyle, a perfectly good movie if you really like Henry Cavill. Question 15. Lisa Frankenstein releases, but whom's directed it? What royalty directed this movie? Zelda Williams. Yes, that Zelda, that Williams. Question 16. What iconic superhero movie releases in America on Valentine's Day? Hey babe, let's go see a superhero movie. Let's see Madam Web. And I think she was researching spiders in the Amazon right before Valentine's Day. Question 17. Magnus Carlsen defeats Fabiano Caruana in the first major what tournament? What game were they playing? Freestyle chess or chess 960? If you say chess, you're wrong. I will also accept Fisher random chess. Question 18. Former New South Wales police officer and the son of a former federal senator is found guilty and sentenced for what crime? Uh-oh, he did a crime-o. Fabricating evidence. Oof. Question 19. Luke Combs brings what music icon on stage to perform Fast Cars. Totally a Luke Combs single. Tracy Chapman, the legendary original artist. That was nice. Question 20. Who won a Grammy for Best Pop Dance Recording? Remember, this is the 2024 Grammys in February 2024. Kylie Minogue for Padam Padam. Good work, madame. Whew, but did you do good work? Are you about to do some good work? In March. Question 1. Which Australian lower house seat had a by-election? Ooh, now we're getting unfair. Most Australians don't know this. That would be Dunkley. Yes, that's what one of our seats is called. Question 2. Which city re-ran their local elections after concerns about the 2023 elections? Belgrade, Republic of Serbia, which is exactly what all of that Cyrillics say. Question 3. The US Supreme Court struck a blow against states' rights by returning Donald Trump to the ballots in which state? Colorado, home of community, amongst several other things. Question 4. Who joins NATO, becoming the 32nd member? That's a couple members. Might be losing one soon. Sweden. Good on you, Sweden. Question 5. A court rules which 2 losers can be extradited from Romania to the UK. Have to be so specific because it is Andrew and Tristan Tate. Question 6. Which country shuts down its last coal-fired power plant? Good work, blank. I'm not going to give it away. Slovakia. Good work, Slovakia. Question 7. After the jury's verdict in late 2023, Sam Bankman-Fried was sentenced to what? 25 years in jail. Just goes to show, don't rob from rich people. Question 8. Which country deployed members of its armed forces to Jamaica? You may be surprised to learn it's Canada, to train peacekeepers for Haiti. Question 9. Which city records its largest ever heist after $30 million is stolen? Los Angeles. So yes, that was in USD. Question 10. Canadian rock band Sum 41 releases their final album, called what? Some Goodbyes? Setting Some? No, that was the name of the tour. It's Heaven X Hell, with, colons in the middle. Question 11. After pivoting from rap to pop punk, Machine Gun Kelly pivots to emo rap, with what release that commercially underperforms? Genre, Sad Boy. Oh, so sad for you. Question 12. Who Whom Who's pivots to country with their release, Cowboy Carter? Yeah, this one's on the easy side, unless you don't pay attention to pop music. Beyonce, or Beyonce, as a lot of her fans may say, or maybe not. Question 13. Who Whom Whom's is named New Zealander of the Year? What, you don't keep up with New Zealand politics? What's wrong with you? Dr. Jim Salinger, a climate scientist. Question 14. What did FIDE make urgent appeals to the Canadian government about? What does FIDE do anyway? They're the chess governing body. Expedite visas for the candidates tournament as part of the World Chess Tour series thing. Question 15. Who Whom Whom's is sworn in as the 13th President of Finland? Alexander Stubb, like most articles on Wikipedia. Question 16. A large-scale outage affects which company and its 2 large social media platforms? Oh, there's so many to pick from. Meta Platforms. Thanks. Question 17. Joe Biden delivers what to the 118th Congress? A firm handshake and a promise to talk to the president come Monday. The State of the Union. Oh, what did that achieve? Question 18. Who Whom Who's became the oldest person to be nominated for Best Director at the Oscars? Of course, Martin Scorsese. He's still going, old Marty. Good on him. Question 19. Which song won both a Golden Globe and an Oscar? What Was I Made For by Billie Eilish. Also, I guess Phineas was there at some point. Question 20. What movie drops with a banger cover of ... ellipsis? Baby One More Time. Kung Fu Panda 4. They made 4 of those things? Why? Well, that's March. Lousy March weather, but are you ready to march on to April? Question 1. Which company, ruined by Jack Welch, split into 3 separate companies? Now you need to know history as well as companies. General Electric becoming Aerospace, Healthcare, and Vernova. Question 2. Sam Mostyn was appointed to what position in Australia? Centre Line Court Judge. No? Lifeguard. Nope. Governor General. Oh, that's right. She'll have to do some work soon. Question 3. Epic Games lays off roughly how much of its workforce, claiming slow growth? Not losses, but slow growth. Ew. 870 people, 1/6, or 16.67%. Your choice, Oz, to which statistic he quoted. Question 4. Archaeologists announced the discovery of new what's in Pompeii. What's new? Frescoes. Not Alfredos. Question 5. After former Prime Minister and eternal arsehole Scotty from Marking left Parliament, which federal seat goes up for a by-election? This is a very Australian question. Cook. But what happened in that Engadine McDonald's? Maybe we'll never know. Question 6. The 88th edition of what tournament took place in Augusta, Georgia? That's not the American Georgia, right? Masters Golf Tournament. Actually, that might be America, Georgia. Question 7. In his decision in Lerman vs. Channel 10, Justice Lee made what notable remark regarding Lerman's decision to bring the defamation case after his criminal trial was aborted? Having escaped the lion's den, Mr. Lerman made the mistake of going back for his hat. That's true. Question 8. Which country vetoed a UN Security Council resolution supporting Palestine joining the UN? It's true that the Justice said that. I can't comment on defamation matters lest I be sued. The United States blocked Palestine. Weird. Question 9. Tortured Poets Department released, but what changed about the album on the day of its release? A big surprise for many people. Became a double album. So many more songs to enjoy. Question 10. Which contentious vehicle was recalled due to safety concerns with the accelerator pedal? How safe is it anyway? The Tesla Cybertruck, the much beleaguered Cybertruck. Question 11. NASA announces it has received data from which probe? Hold for laughter. Voyager 1. Somewhere out there, Voyager 1. Question 12. The United States FTC votes to ban what clause from employment contracts? Non-compete clauses. You want me to do something for you after my contractual period ends? Weird. Question 13. What measure did the City of Venice introduce to limit overcrowding of tourists? An entry fee. Ooh, a poor tax, thanks. Question 14. Nicole Kidman becomes the first Australian to win what award? The Iron Chef. No? AFI Lifetime Achievement Award. Good work, Miss Murder. Question 15. Donald Trump is fined how much for contempt of court? Too much, too little? Get in the comments. Definitely too little. And also, don't they arrest people for contempt of court? $9,000. Oof. Sure he's got that behind some couch cushions. Question 16. Which amazing Australian won the Laurence Olivier Best Actress Award for playing all roles in The Picture of Dorian Gray? Every single role. Sarah Snook. Good work, Sarah. Not bad for a South Australian. Question 17. Chapel Roan releases what single that isn't on her album? Started calling her Chappers, which is bad given the amount of English guitar YouTube I've watched. Good luck, babe. Good luck, babe. Question 18. One of the few YouTube videos of this year that has its own Wikipedia page is the interview with what tall talker? Conan O'Brien needs a doctor while eating spicy wings. His Hot Ones episode. It was fun. Question 19. What movie written, directed, and starring Dev Patel releases to acclaim? Not to the acclaim, the wrestling thing, but like general acclaim. Monkey Man. Good on you, Dev. I should watch that, actually. I'm bad about watching movies. Question 20. Whom wins the 2024 Candidates Tour? Why, that would be Gukesh, or is sometimes known Gukesh D. But don't dismay, more questions on the way. For May, question 1. Shadiq Khan wins re-election for a historic third term, but what percent of the vote did he receive? 43.8%. Mayor of London election, by the way. Question 2. What two factors led to Pope Francis and the government of Italy urging on Italians to have more children? Spawn more chitlins, record low birth rates, and an aging population. Italy probably has a great economy. Question 3. What happened for the first time ever at Eurovision? A contestant was disqualified during the festival. Orcs. Question 4. Scientists using the James Webb Space Telescope discovered the earliest merging of black holes. How many years ago? 740 million. That's a little while ago. Question 5. FIFA announces they have awarded the 2027 Women's Soccer World Cup to what country? Brazil! Wait, they actually like soccer over there. Yeah, I know it's football, but every sport's football, so every sport gets called what it's actually called. Question 6. Joe Biden announces he is cancelling $7.7 billion of student debt for 160,000 people, meaning the average debt is $48,125, plus minus 500, acceptable, range on screen. Question 7. Pope Francis and co. announced the approval of the first millennial saint. I hate that word. What was his name? Millennial, not saint. Carlo Acutis. Ripped to a real one by the sounds of it. Question 8. In the US, the first ever consumer class action lawsuit is filed against which two companies? Should happen sooner, if I'm honest. Ticketmaster and Live Nation. There's no reason why anyone would be grumpy at them. Question 9. What film won the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival? One of the fanciest film festivals of all time. Anora. I wonder if that'll do well in next year's award seasons. Question 10. What evil policy does Rishi Sunak announce he will implement if he wins the election? Conscription. Evil. Question 11. Donald Trump is convicted on how many felony counts for falsifying business records? 34 counts? Mamma mia, that's a lot of accounts. Question 12. AEW's Double or Nothing occurs and legendary wrestler Adam Copeland fractured his what after jumping off the top of a steel cage? I was watching it. It was wild. His tibia. I ain't fibbing ya. He broke his tibia. He recently came back. Question 13. Also, whom's defeated Death Triangle, which is the real name of a now former faction in wrestling. Wrestling is awesome. The Bang Bang Gang. Did I mention wrestling is awesome? Question 14. What movie, mind-bending psychological horror drama produced by Emma Stone, Dave McCary et al. Is released in the US? I Saw the TV Glow. Question 15. An epic prequel is finally released after being stuck in development hell for years. What is it? Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. A very, very good movie. Question 16. Mayor of Auckland, Wayne Brown, abandons plans to sell what? So that they remain in the ownership of the council. The Ports of Auckland, which would make a pretty good album name, if I'm honest. Question 17. Speaking of New Zealand, Warner Bros. Discovery cancels what show after 12 years in New Zealand? The Block NZ. I think the Australian one's still going somehow. Question 18. Bring Me the Horizon released what album, the next in the series after Posthuman, Survival Horror? Well, that would be Posthuman, Next Gen. Friend brought me along to their concert. They rock. Question 19. Bruce Lerman is ordered to pay most of what by the Federal Court of Australia? I had to hear about this guy in the news so much. Network 10's legal costs. Must have went well for him. Question 20. Whomst wins Eurovision? And with what song? There's so many to pick from. The Code by Nemo. He found what he was looking after all these years. But how did you do? Let's take a breather, cycle some fluids, and get ready for June. Question 1. Nigel Farage inflicts himself upon everyone by becoming the leader of what? The leader of wishful thinking. But no, actually it was Reform UK, formerly the Brexit Party. Good. Great. Question 2. The US FDA stands in the way of progress by rejecting what evidence-based breakthrough for treatment therapy for PTSD? MDMA-assisted psychotherapy. Oof, poor soldiers. Question 3. Pat Sajak steps down as the host of US Wheel of Fortune after how many years at the wheel? 41 years. That's a hell of a stretch. Good on you, Pat. Question 4. The third most prestigious tennis tournament occurs in France. Known by what fancy name? And we don't want the, French name. We want the fancy name. Roland Garros. Not the French Open. I said not the French name. The fancy name. Roland Garros. Question 5. Macron calls snap elections. What is unusual about France's electoral system? In the overarching sense for Macron's position. 2 rounds of voting, aka the 2-round system. Question 6. What awful bandwagon does Apple jump on with their flagship announcement at WWDC, which is not a wrestling company, it's just a lame tech conference? AI with Apple Intelligence. Oh, that'll keep the shareholders happy for another quarter. Question 7. Which Roy actor wins a Tony Award? Roy is in marks there because it's a clue. Jeremy Strong benches 400 pounds a day, probably, maybe, who knows. Question 8. What very long car race happens? Ian celebrates it most years, I believe. But that's a bit. Anyway, 24 hours of Le Mans. That's a bit of racing to do. Question 9. The US governor of Maryland pardons more than how many people with low-level marijuana convictions? Why, that would be 175,000. Christ, that's a lot of convictions for something that's not that bad. Question 10. The WNBA but all dudes finals occur. Who wins it all? Boston Celtics. They're shipping that trophy up to Boston as we speak. Question 11. Nvidia becomes the most valuable publicly traded company when its market cap exceeds what truly absurd number? 3.34 trillion. Holy bajolies. Question 12. The Grand Duke of Luxembourg announces who will assume royal duties in October. His son, Guillaume. Question 13. The Royal Zoological Society of Scotland announced what sort of kittens have been born. Displacer kittens. Aww. Scottish Wildcat. Wow. Question 14. Inside Out 2 becomes the fastest animated film to cross what earnings threshold? And in how long? At time of reporting. $1 billion in 3 weeks. My, that's a lot of money. Question 15. What's going to ruin the world tour? Do you remember this? Justin Timberlake's DUI. More like DUI hecked up. Question 16. What movie gets a sequel? Bad Boys Ride or Die after 4 years. You don't remember that movie? It's called Bad Boys for Life, even though I think it's the third one. Anyway, numbers don't mean anything. Question 17. 11 cold and flu medications returned to New Zealand shelves without needing prescription. Why did they need a prescription for the last 13 or so years? They contain pseudoephedrine, a methamphetamine precursor. Question 18. Which 80s hair band releases a new album? And not too soon, if I do say so, not myself. Bon Jovi. Question 19. This is the first Bon Jovi album since what happened with John? You know, John Bon Jovi of the Bon Jovi Man, so John Bon Jovi from Bon Jovi. Major throat surgery. That's rough for a singer. Hope that worked out for you, buddy. Question 20. A delegation of Australian ministers, including Penny Wong and Richard Marles, arrive where? Papua New Guinea. Ooh, that's 20 questions about June, but none of them were about the movie June. And now, July. Question 1. For all the things he has done, whomst is disbarred? Could have happened to a nicer guy? Probably not. Rudy Giuliani! Don't know why that's the voice he gets. Question 2. Estimated to be 51,200 years old, where is the just discovered world's oldest cave painting found? Indonesia. What a perfectly reasonable place for that to be found. Question 3. The UK general election occurs, and what is notable about Liz Truss losing her seat? She just don't know where it went. First former Prime Minister to lose their seat since 1906. Another achievement for Liz Truss. Question 4. What anti-worker law is passed in Greece? This is wild. Good God. 6-day work week. That'll solve all our economic problems. Question 5. Las Vegas records its highest ever temperature of what? What temperature? Reminder that climate change is real. 49 degrees Celsius or 120 degrees in fake units. Question 6. Yaroslava Mahučić sets 3 new women's high jump world records with a jump of what height? 2.1 meters. I'm not telling you what that is in feet because it don't matter. Question 7. Thousands of workers of what company begin a 3-day strike? Get him. Go on, get him. Samsung or Smasnug if you're from Radelaide. Question 8. 2 days later, the Union for Samsung Workers announces how many workers will be striking indefinitely. Remember, strikes work. 30,000 workers, holy moly, that's how many people are striking from Samsung? Christ. Question 9. Why did the judge scold the prosecution and therefore drop Alec Baldwin's manslaughter charge? Yeah, that's why people are afraid of strikes, because they work. Prosecution withheld evidence, aka a Brady violation. Question 10. The IOC announced which country will host the inaugural esports games in 2025. Saudi Arabia! Question 11. Which band imploded in the wake of the assassination attempt on Donald Trump? Tenacious D, after Jack Black overreacted to a joke he thought was funny at the time. Question 12. The most prestigious tennis tournament in the world occurs. What YouTuber's actual job is commentary for Wimbledon? Andrew Cotter, YouTube, Mr. Andrew Cotter with Olive and Mabel, one of the best channels on YouTube. Question 13. A Stegosaurus skeleton is auctioned for how much? Answer in US dollars, please. US dollars at time of reporting. $44.6 million. Status symbols never go out of fashion. Question 14. What company pushes an update that causes 8.5 million-ish blue screens of death? I was at the supermarket when this happened. CloudStrike. No one who didn't have cash could pay for anything. Question 15. What was the other big thing that happened to the US presidential race around this time in July? Remember, big news. Joe Biden drops out. Probably should have done it sooner. Heck. Question 16. What bicycle thing happens? How many notable bicycle things are there in a year? Who knows? Tour de France. It's the one bicycle thing everyone knows. Question 17. Who, or what, discovered a spotted rock on Mars? Was it a good dog? Was it a good boy? Perseverance rover could suggest life on Mars, not the TV show. Question 18. What was the most contentious waterway in the lead up to the Olympics? This one's a bit easier. You know, for you to see, CN, get it? The CN River. Sanitation. Question 19. Which English rock band releases their 23rd studio album? Equals 1? William Johnson? No, can't be. Deep Purple? They're still going? Ah, good on them. Question 20. Whomst is the first ever metal band to play at the Olympics? I can't really do that well, and that's going to hurt my throat. Gojira! I've heard of them before. They're pretty good, right? That's what I've heard. Did you do good so far? Take a breath, cycle your fluids, breathe in, now breathe out, now move in, now move out. It's August. Question 1. Which 2 US agencies file suit against TikTok? Time well spent, probably, maybe, don't ask me. Department of Justice and the Federal Trade Commission. Only US propaganda, please. Question 2. Who avenges his loss at the most prestigious tennis tournament to claim gold? That's right, Novak Djokovic, the GOAT of tennis. Maybe not other things. Question 3. Judge Mehta finds Google guilty of breaking what? What did Google break? The Sherman Antitrust Act for illegally maintaining a monopoly over search. Question 4. Arisha True became the youngest Australian to ever medal at the Olympics. What did she win gold in? Park skateboarding, the coolest sport with the coolest soundtrack. Question 5. Then presumptive Democratic nominee Kamala Harris selects whomst as her running mate. YouTube served me a video of him fixing his car's cruise control while talking about stuff. It was Tim Walls! Sounds like an alright bloke. Question 6. What website is blocked and slowed in Russia? There's sort of a meta hint here, but I'm not going to dig into it too much. YouTube! Oh, Russia. Stop. Question 7. The internet's favourite Australian breakdancer Reagan has what prenomial title? Rather interesting. Doctor. She has a PhD. I didn't see that in any of the reporting. Question 8. According to analysis based on data from the InSight lander, NASA announces what on Mars is confirmed. What is finally confirmed? Water! H2O! Woo! Question 9. Ford and Mazda issued a recall for over 475,000 cars because the Takata airbag inflators could do what? Explode with metal shrapnel! That's bad for an airbag. Question 10. The US Drug Enforcement Agency announced it had seized 1,000 kilograms of methamphetamines hidden inside what? Why are you hiding their meth? Celery! Why? Weird. Question 11. Which US video game magazine shut down after 33 years with its website disappearing almost immediately? Game Informer! Every day, more history gets erased. Question 12. For the first time, Indonesia's Independence Day is held in 2 cities. Why? Because of the relocation of the capital from Jakarta to Nusantara. Question 13. What rare lunar event occurred? It's hard to keep track of all these lunar things going on, lunar calendars. Blue Superman! Blue, second full moon in a calendar month. Super appeared 14% larger than the usual full moon. Question 14. BMW recalls 720,000 vehicles because an issue with the water pump could lead to what? Pumping up the jams. Pumping up the jams. A vehicle fire! That's the opposite of what you want, really. Well, combustion engines need to be powered by the right number and temperature explosions. Question 15. What did the Canadian National Railway, CPKC, do to over 10,000 employees? Lock them out of work. It's like a strike, but from the other side, and it never lasts. Question 16. Whomst ended their presidential run? RFK Jr. What a sane and normal person to be around government. Question 17. The Netherlands fines Uber for how much for allegedly breaches of EU's GDPR privacy regulations? 290 million! That's a lot of money! That's almost as many mispronunciations I made in that question. Question 18. Australian and New Zealand police announces the end of a joint operation seizing 93 million AUD of drugs. How many arrests were made? 1,611. That's quite a lot of arrests, actually. Question 19. Which band that has been around forever plays at the Olympics closing ceremony? And by the way, it was Red Hot Chili Peppers. For some reason. Question 20. Which band reunites after 15 or so years of bitter feuding? So angry. Oasis. And maybe one day you can see Oasis for $1 million. September. Question 1. The fourth most prestigious tennis tournament concludes, but what city was it held in? New York! Making bacon pancakes, Question 2. What musical legend who helped pioneer outlaw country in the 1970s passed away? Rip to a real one. Chris Christopherson, and remember, don't let the bastards get you down. Look up that story. Question 3. The Brazilian Supreme Court upholds an order to ban what? Has to be something important, something contentious. Twitter! And no, I'm never going to call it X. Go away. Question 4. The president of Venezuela announces the country will celebrate Christmas on what date? Is this an epic psych out? No, the 1st of October, with an announcement a couple weeks early. Question 5. Which rock band returns after a 7-year hiatus? To some interesting new music and some curious opinions of the new singer. Linkin Park! Emily Armstrong replacing a true great, Chester Bennington. Question 6. The UK's Competition and Markets Authority announces an investigation into Ticketmaster after the dynamic pricing of what tour? And maybe the Oasis 2025 tour used dynamic pricing. Question 7. The UEFA Nations League team scored their first competitive victory ever? Which one was it? There's so many to pick from. San Marino. Question 8. China opens the largest indoor what? Tony Hawk's Pro Skater Park, but real life. Hell yeah. Skiing resort. I was shockingly close. Question 9. What award show gives 16 awards to Shogun? A show that I still haven't gonna give a chance. Maybe. We'll see how I go. The Creative Arts Emmys. DIY your own jokes there. Question 10. Of the 2 tech companies who received fines this month, whom's got the largest? Well, obviously it was Apple with 13 billion compared to Google's 2.4 billion. I'm not calling it Alphabet. Question 11. Whom's issued a statement half an hour before the Trump-Harris debate in what was a masterful stroke of crisis PR handling. Davy Boy Grohl, the old baby out of wedlock. Question 12. What space record is beaten? There's so many space records and so little space. Wait, there's so much space up there, my god. 19 people in orbit, the most in orbit at one time in any time. Question 13. After Victoria decided not to host the 2026 Commonwealth Games, which city is announced as the new host? Glasgow, Scotland. Dandrew said, hell no, we can't afford that, and we have better things to spend our money on, and rightfully so. Question 14. What notable music was discovered in a library in Leipzig, Germany? A new Mozart composition, about 260 years old. Question 15. Whom's won the AFL Brownlow Medal with 45 votes, the most votes ever with the current voting system? Patrick Cripps. Good on ya, Patrick. Question 16. Which Australian won the Primetime Emmy for Outstanding Supporting Actress? Of course, that would be Elizabeth Debicki. Had a pretty hell of a career. Good on you, Lizzie. Question 17. And whom's did she play? You didn't think there were going to be 2 questions? Well, there's a lot of questions. Princess Diana! And yeah, actually, you can totally see it, right? That works. Question 18. Which art gallery heads back to the tribunal regarding their ladies-only lounge? In what was surely not a waste of the court's time, with a guy suing for gender discrimination for the Mona Museum. Or was it all part of a stunt? Who knows? Question 19. What wordplay is notable about the ascension of the new Maori Queen in New Zealand / Aotearoa? She was elected! Elected Queen, you get the bit. Question 20. What film epic is released after almost 50 years of ideation and writing and creativity and everything? It's Megalopolis! It was conceived in 1977, the year of the first Star Wars movie. But how did you do in September? Do you remember the 21st of September? Well, it's October now. Question 1. In the US, over 45,000 of what kind of workers go on strike? Good on ya, lads and lasses and everyone in between. Dock workers! They're stevedoring up for a new deal. That joke doesn't work. Question 2. Which 2 countries have elections on October the 1st? 2024. There's so many countries to pick from. Which one could it be? Mexico and Japan! Well, isn't that interesting? Question 3. Which former US president turns 100? Heck of a milestone, outlives so many other presidents. Goodness gracious. Jimmy Carter! Question 4. The EU votes to introduce tariffs on how much on EVs manufactured in China? The tariffs would be 45%! Oh, okay. Tariffs. Question 5. Victor Ambros and Gary Ruvkin are awarded the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine for the discovery of what? Micro-RNA! And no, I'm not learning about that. To hell with biology. Question 6. The US EPA sets a 10-year deadline to replace what? Which, in light of recent events, probably isn't going to happen. All lead water pipes in the US. What a great idea, making water pipes out of lead. Question 7. In order to protect children from the power of the algorithm, Norwegian Prime Minister raises the minimum age of social media from what to what? 13 to 15! Could be higher, really. Question 8. Freddie Freeman hits the first ever what to win the first game of the World Series? Of course, it's called the World Series, even though America's the only country that plays. A walk-off grand slam. Walk-off is a home run that ends the game, and a grand slam is with the bases loaded. Question 9. And what team went on to win the World Series of baseball, even though only America plays? Maybe Canada. I did not check, and I don't care about baseball. I'm sorry, not really. The Los Angeles Dodgers. Somehow I've heard of them before. Question 10. What sequel movie shares its name with a Fall Out Boy album? The album is almost certainly better than the movie. I didn't see it. I saw the prequel for half an hour and then turned it off. Joker 2, Folie à Dieu. Question 11. The previously mentioned Nora is released, but whom's directed it? Who's the man behind the camera with the plan? Sean Baker, which I still want to pronounce Scene Baker. Deal with it, Scene. Question 12. What happened to Olivia Rodrigo in Melbourne that would coincidentally happen to Coldplay's Chris Martin at a different venue in Melbourne a few weeks later? What a weird news story. They both fell through a hole in the stage, but both of them are okay. Good for them. Question 13. Speaking of Coldplay, they released Moon Music, which is what number release from them? Like, which number album is it? Nobody knows this, surely. 10! Somehow Coldplay have released 10 albums! I only remember Viva La Vida a little bit. Question 14. Which movie releases capping off a Marvel but not really MCU trilogy? Venom, The Last Dance, and I don't watch basketball, so I don't know about The Last Dance bit. Question 15. Shigeru Ishiba is sworn in as what number Prime Minister of Japan? How many Prime Ministers have they had as of October last year? 65th! That's quite a number of Prime Ministers, but then they have a long history, so that tracks. Question 16. 2 Nobel Prizes in chemistry are awarded, but are actually awarded to what area of research? Twisty. Computational biochemistry. It's all to do with protein folding. I guess that counts as chemistry. Maybe. Question 17. Researchers from the University of Granada announced that whose bones have been confirmed as being his? Christopher Columbus. Apparently, some people weren't happy about where his resting spot may or may not have been. Question 18. The 52nd what is discovered? Hint, it's 41,024,320 digits long. Obviously, it's Mersenne prime number. If you said regular prime number, have half a point, I guess. Question 19. What women's world record is beaten almost 2 minutes by Ruth Chepanich? The Chicago Marathon! Good on ya. That's a hard one. Question 20. What 2 band headlines the When We Were Young Festival in Las Vegas? A bad name for a probably okay festival with great taste in music. My Chemical Romance and Fall Out Boy. Not emo bands, fight me. If you want pointless thing to fight about, real emos back in the day had little to do with those bands and didn't want to. Question 1. What date did the US go to the polls? In Australian time. 6th of November. Australia's ahead of the US in terms of time zones and not electing fascists. For now. Question 2. What was used to remove a piece of melted fuel from the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant? A remote-controlled robot. Yeah, that makes sense. Question 3. Just Stop Oil protesters spray painted what after the re-election of Trump? The US Embassy in London. Question 4. What did Kamala and Biden commit to after Kamala conceded defeat? You know, fighting fascists? No. A peaceful transition of power. Maybe they should have done more before the votes were cast about the cost of living and stuff. Question 5. Grammy nominations are announced, making whom's the most nominated artist in history. Beyonce! Sure. She's put out music. Question 6. Taylor Swift is the first woman to get how many career nominations for Album of the Year? A fair chunk of them probably even deserved it. 7! That's a lot on you. Good work, Taylor. That's a lot. Question 7. What bill causes hundreds of Maori people to march to Wellington? New Zealand electing a Conservative government's really working out well for everyone. The Treaty Principles Bill would redefine the principles of the Treaty of Waitangi. Question 8. Which country does Russia sign a mutual defense pact with? Because we're just redoing World War II, but well, different and bad also. North Korea. I'm sure that's going to go great for both of them. Question 9. What novel wins the Booker Prize? Question 9.5. What's the Booker Prize again? I forgot. My bad, homies. Orbital by Samantha Harvey. No relation. Question 10. Whom spies, or attempts to buy depending on rulings, InfoWars. The show made famous by that loser Alex Jones. The Onion! But maybe the judge blocked it. It's not really made headlines recently, sorry. Question 11. A $100 million wrongful death lawsuit is filed against the CIA, the FBI, and the NYPD for their alleged involvement in whom's assassination. Malcolm X! Really need to know your US history for that one. Question 12. Victoria Kjær Thrivling is awarded what title? The first Danish person to win it. Miss Universe! I guess we're still doing those. Good on you, though. Question 13. The 111th Grey Cup occurs, but what is the Grey Cup and what is it all about? What is it really? The Canadian Football Championship. They call it football, goddammit. Question 14. Oh, and who won the Grey Cup? Whom's won the Grey Cup? Why, that would have to be the Toronto Argonauts. Team captain, Jason. That joke, obvious. Question 15. Madison Barber's discovery of what is published in Nature? Pretty prestigious journal, unlike the Lancet. A new exoplanet. Exoplanet is planet outside of our solar system. Good work. Question 16. Which world championship is contested in Viva Las Vegas? I know it's Las Vegas, but my pronunciations are all over the place. Formula 1. Please hold for Formula 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 jokes. Question 17. The World Chess Championship begins in Singapore. Whomst are the contenders? The reigning, defending world champ Ding Liren and young upstart Gukesh D. Question 18. The City of London Corporation proposes a bill to close what two markets? The Billingsgate Fish Market and the Smithfield Meat Market. Question 19. Citizens of what country go to vote in a snap election? God, I hate doing finger snaps. Ireland. Hopefully they didn't elect a fascist. I forgot to check. Soz. Question 20. Which bizarre Christmas movie is released? Remember, it's November. That ultimately loses money, more than likely, probably Hollywood accounting being what it is. Red 1. If AI Slop was a real boy. But how did you do? Are you AI Slop? I certainly hope not, because we're about to do December. Question 1. Which country's elections occur on December 1st and end without any party winning a majority? Iceland. Oof, good luck with that. Question 2. Auto workers in Germany begin strike action against whomst. Good on you, auto workers. Shift to a better deal? Volkswagen. Wonder what their company history's like. Question 3. Australian Federal Police announced they have made arrests for drugs. What weight of drugs did they allege people had tried to smuggle? 2.34 tons of cocaine! That's a brickload of cocaine. Question 4. On the 3rd of December, Yoon Suk Yeol made what declaration? Martial law in South Korea. I wonder how that works out for him. Question 5. In response, the National Assembly began what? Asking him politely, yet firmly, to not do that. But the official version of that, which is impeachment proceedings. Yeah, martial law, great times. Question 6. And also, the KCTU announced what? Off the top of my head, I believe that's the Korean Council of Trade Unions. A labour strike. Thanks, but actually, thanks. Good work, KCTU. Question 7. Who resigns from government on the 5th of December? But which government? Michael Barnier, the Prime Minister of France. Really jumping all over the place. Question 8. US Court of Appeals upholds an act that would force a sale of what platform? The ones Mario jump off. Brian David Gilbert proved their OH&S disasters. Wait, TikTok. Americans hate TikTok for some reason. Or at least their police do. Question 9. The MLS Cup is decided, but what sport and what location is it for? The old 2-for-1. The Association Football/Soccer in North America and US is wrong as it includes Canada. Question 10. What no treatable building reopens? Oh, thanks for the clue, Harley. That would be the Notre Dame Cathedral. The one time rich people decided they wanted to pitch in. Lame. Question 11. The EU approves which two countries to join the Schengen area? Yes, it is really called the Schengen area. Romania and Bulgaria. Question 12. Gukesh D defeats Ding Liren to win the World Chess Championship, but what was the final score? Yes, I watched a lot of this live. Yes, it was boring. They think for like half an hour each move. 7.5 to 6.5. Came down to one move. Goodness gracious. Question 13. Also, what record did Gukesh set by winning the World Chess Championship? The youngest world champion at age 18. Shockingly, most world champions are in their 30s previous to this. Question 14. What Victorian town records the highest temperature in the state in 5 years? It's getting hot in there. Oh no, my climate change. Well, be up. 47.1 degrees Celsius or 116.8 in fake units. Question 15. Which two automakers announced plans for a merger? Which is going to go great for everyone. Nissan and Honda. Maybe they'll be relevant again. Probably not. Question 16. 36,000 people strike for 8 hours in New Zealand protesting adverse conditions in what workplaces? That's a lot of people. Even if it was New Zealand, it'd be a lot of people. Hospitals. They are nurses, midwives and assistants who deserve a lot more money. Question 17. What musical is cancelled after legal correspondence? But Harley, isn't that vague? Well, you need to be reading Australian news at the time. Ray Gun, the musical, after the whole, Dr. Rachel Ray Gun at the Olympics debacle. Question 18. What movie is released likely the end of the Spum? Which of course is the Sony Pictures universe of Marvel movies. Kraven the Hunter. Ugh. Question 19. Anthony Albanese announces the remaining 5 of what group will return to Australia? Oh, we're going way back with this one. The remaining people from the Bali Nine, who were convicted of drug smuggling charges in 2005, I'm going to say. Question 20. How many videos, not including shorts or podcasts, did Qrivia release in 2024? It's where this gets really unfair. 161 videos, including 4 marathons. I'm so tired, but how did you do? There were so many questions. Thanks for watching all of them. Let us know in the comments below what you're feeling, how you're doing, and come back next year because there's going to be a bigger quiz of 2025. Bye.